Hello dear sinceres, and welcome back to my channel for astrology and holistic coaching. And so today we are going to talk about the full moon in Capricorn, which is happening on the 13th of July at 6:37 p.m. UK time. And full moons are usually are already an intense period where emotions can be heightened, people can be more stressful, tend to be more tense, and sometimes even more aggressive, impulsive. It's considered a period where crimes tend to go higher and occur with more frequency. And as well, we tend to have more accidents, conflicts, because in such periods the moon is reflecting the light of the sun, and it's kind of this round ball that reflects this light. But because the moon is also connected to our subconscious and very connected to the astral worlds, then it's like the doors of the astral worlds have these doors open, and then they penetrate the astral plane, and it's like we have access to this other world where all the spirits are and all the entities abound, and they just roaming free around the world and putting on this all influence. It might seem a little bit heavy to talk about these things, but for those of you who've kind of delved a little bit into spirituality and the several different worlds and planes that we live in, are probably more familiar with what I'm saying. But anyway, moving on. If you think about the full moons, they also seem to be associated with werewolves, for example, vampires. Um, when you want to make kind of movies or series about, or episodes about something dark, mysterious events, or even connected to these kind of weird creatures, there's usually a full moon present. And I don't know why I decided to talk about this today, but I felt that perhaps because the moon in Capricorn is not on its best. It's kind of a bit depleted moon, a bit of a moon that is kind of seeking something to feel, and is a bit out of balance, is a bit kind of in a coma. That's perhaps how I would describe it. But not that the people who have a moon in Capricorn are like that. Is more the moon can give this kind of feel. But also because this moon is way more intense than the previous moons, especially because we're going to have a conjunction with Pluto, and is also a super full moon, which will make it look much bigger in the sky as it's closest to the Earth. And so for those two reasons as well, this moon kind of makes me feel kind of a sort of a dark moon that is connected to these kind of worlds and kind of dark mystery things. And also, okay, and also because of this conjunction to Pluto in Capricorn, no less. Well, if you think of Capricorn, Capricorn is kind of the wintry sign and is usually associated even to the devil, so to speak, because of the horns and the goat face. So it's kind of adding even more to that dark, intense flavor. And Pluto is the lord of the underworld, is the lord of hells, is Hades. So for those who like ancient Greek or Roman mythology, and given that the moon in Capricorn is a little bit weakened, and also Capricorn is usually associated with the devil because it has the face of a goat and it has the horns. So it kind of adds even more to this dark kind of theme together with Pluto. Pluto is the lord of hells, the lord of the underworld, Hades. He is the ruler of these worlds, of these hellish worlds, and he was the one that kidnapped Persephone, the daughter of Demeter, or Ceres, which, funny enough, Ceres is in opposition to the moon and Pluto. in this day of full moon. So it's almost like we are kind of seeing a reenactment of this mythological story here, but where Selene, the moon, actually is Persephone in this case, and she's kind of the kidnapped princess stuck in the underworld, and that is marrying Pluto for a day. And so I found this really, really interesting when I looked at it. So, in this kind of day, we may have an intensification of emotions because the moon is not very comfortable. She's not in her best balance. So, she is under the rule of Pluto, which is a very intense planet. And it can give, when the moon and Pluto are together, the moon becomes a bit traumatized. She can feel experience a certain level of violence, a certain level of trauma, of feeling she's been abused somehow. And I'm not talking just in terms of the transit or the conjunction itself by transit, but even in people's charts, in natal charts, Moon and Pluto usually, it's a very intense conjunction or aspect that can give some tendency for people to suffer a lot in their early life, some traumas, some level of abuse, whether this is emotional, sometimes physical, and something could be connected even to the mother. And Capricorn is a sign, as I said, is connected to this cold wintry sign, but also many times associated to the devil, but is also ruled by Saturn. So there's a Saturnian kind of flavor to this moon as well, where there's this kind of coldness, kind of dryness, a feeling of emotion. Because Capricorn is a sign that is connected to the goats. The goats usually are trying to reach the top in many areas that only a few can climb, and they are very arid. The good thing is that they tend to have a very good laser focus in trying to reach the top. They don't tend to be distracted by anything else around them. But this also is due because they don't tend to be so emotionally driven, so they can have this focus. They don't stop to smell, oh, look at that flower. So Capricorn is associated with the mountains and the goats. So the goats usually can climb very steep mountains and reach the top. They have this laser focus. There is a video somewhere on YouTube where you actually see these goats climbing almost impossible mountains in really little, like where they put their feet, where they place their feet in the mountains is something seems almost impossible, and somehow you see them climb and having this resilience, this focus, concentration, and they stop for a while, and then they kind of seem like they're in a meditation, and then they give another step, and then stop for another long while, and then they do it again. So it was interesting to compare watching this video and how the Capricornians usually tend to be. But the Capricorn sign also, it tends to be almost like in this, it's almost like they are under this winter, and it's very, very cold and snowy, and basically when we are humans under such cold weather, we don't tend to want to use our muscles a lot. So it's not so easy for people to just feel inclined to move a lot, to smile a lot, to show a lot of emotion, because that is somewhat using energy, and you want to conserve the energy, not so much to waste it. And so this is one of the reasons why perhaps Capricorn is considered a sign for the moon, that where the moon doesn't feel that easiness of expressing their emotions, expressing their feelings. They tend to be more reserved, and sometimes this reservation is due to this kind of cold winter, and gives the feeling that maybe they don't have so many feelings, maybe they don't feel so much, but actually they do feel. It's just that under that icy lake, icy river, it runs very deep, profound river of water that has a lot of emotions. It just doesn't feel inclined to express them in the same way that a Cancerian, for example, has a much easier way to express them. And so it's not that Capricorns don't feel, they do. It's just opposite to the Cancerians, they tend to not have that same level of expression. And it's also interesting to note, like for example, the Cancerians, they tend to be more wanting more warm environments, being the coziness of the family, coziness of the home, the warmth of doing something with their loved ones. And for them is more easy to express all those feelings and affection and love and care for their loved ones, because they have this natural warmth that naturally comes out. But for Capricorns, they are more focused on the accomplishing that top of the mountain, reaching to that top um, of their goal, of what they're focusing on. So this is the opposite of Cancer and Capricorn. So we have the Sun in Cancer. We are in the month of Cancer still, and so we are under this influence. But with the full moon now in Capricorn, and moon is all about emotions and the subconscious, then we also gonna have these themes happening for the full moon day. As I said before, the moon is a portal for the subconscious, for the astral worlds, and with all these things together, it can bring some dark intensity to the play. It can bring some intense and pleasant events or secrets revealed that will be coming to the light, and we may feel inclined to maybe dark thoughts or feelings, or kind of be in a destructive kind of mood or self-destructive states. We can hear of horrible crimes or events or acts of violences, and this more from a mundane perspective. But on the positive hand, this can be an impulse for transformation because of Pluto. Pluto is all about transformation, going within, enter some deep analysis of our psyche, and even use shadow work to get to know ourselves better, to do some shamanic inner kind of research of our inner demons, to invoke our warrior angels to dive deep into our subconscious, or while we dive deep into our subconscious. We should take care also that on this day, any unpleasant events don't take us into the realm of the Ice Queen land, meaning where our heart gets frozen and dissected in this mixture of Saturnian winter and Plutonic dark world, where our perspective of the world can actually become just simply very cold, analytical, deprived of feeling and emotion. Because in some cases, to feel emotion can hurt a lot, and especially if we've been hurt or traumatized. And sometimes it may just feel like it's so much better to just be logical and stoic and just leave any emotion and any feelings behind. And it's quite interesting to see how this actually is not really the best approach. If you see the movie Equilibrium, it really shows very well what kind of world we would live without any emotions and feelings, even though this is a bit of a full of action packed and some violence packed movie, but the deeper meaning is actually there, and it's quite beautiful. Capricorns are also described as workaholics. So, sign is described as a workaholic. And so, this is a really good period to stop, to take a break, and analyze how much have we been overdoing or underdoing with our goals and objectives. To how much have we actually been led only by our emotions of feeling like doing this or not feeling like doing that, and to kind of see, okay, I need to be more disciplined or more structured or more down to earth, and to find a way to make sure that my work is more consistent. So, this is also a great day to ask for angelic and divine protection, to watch over children, to heal the feelings of loss, of nurture their traumas by going within our psyches, maybe with the help of some light worker or angelic protection, to meditate with the higher spheres of consciousness, but not to go intense on the dark side, because it will be intense by itself. Venus will be in Gemini, squaring Neptune in Pisces, which on one hand can make imagination quite fertile for creative people, give imagination to mental and verbal playfulness and wittiness, and even be a good way for art with words, writing, to do poetry, and even intellectuals can benefit with the current of interesting ideas. But it can also give space to some delusion, fantasy of reality, to project onto relationships or even to interpret things and their meaning that are things that have been communicated to us in a kind of erroneous way, as Venus and Neptune are squaring. Even in romance, it can be good to have this kind of more fantasy like journey and go into our heads a little bit and fantasize. But it's also good to come down to earth a little bit so that we don't see more than what it's there, because Neptune can so easily take Venus on a ride to fantasy land, seeking for that soulmate, that magical being that actually doesn't really exist, because Venus is earthly love and Neptune is the higher octave of Venus and is kind of more this divine love. And sometimes we only tend to see the Neptunian side of things, the kind of divine, magical love, but we don't see the person in front of us is also human, is also flawed, is also someone who has its limitations and is not so perfect. And so it's good to find a balance. And the good thing is that Saturn will be helping Venus because it's trining Venus, and it will help Venus have that kind of sobriety, a sober dose of reality. Another thing to note with this super full moon in Capricorn is that it's occurring at 21 degrees of Capricorn. And 21 degrees of Capricorn, it was where the Saturn and Pluto conjunction happened. Actually, at 22nd degrees, that's where it happened, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which many astrologers consider caused the pandemic. And so, for that reason, it's quite possible that we might see some triggering of the same coming soon. There's already a few news here and there, but let's see, let's hope that's not the case. And that's all I have to say for today for the full moon in Capricorn. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if so, please make sure to give me a thumbs up. Help me become a full-time astrologer by supporting me with your subscription down below, and also visit me at my website for cynthiasincere.com. You can check on all the offerings of the readings that I do, from natal, from orrery, from predictions, and even tarot. And also, feel free to tell your friends and comment below what's been your experience with the full moon in Capricorn day and surrounding days. And even if you have a moon in Capricorn, how is that for you? I hope to see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. May the cosmos and the stars be with you.